In your presentations, you mentioned something that the motto for UNFPA was to fail fast or transition to scale, which I really like, because it's wonderful to have lots of experiments, but we're all trying to get the next transformational innovations that are going to have a broad impact on the organization, on countries, on multiple regions, etc. A lot of people are wondering, how do you measure whether innovations are failing or whether they are ready to scale? What metrics do you use to assess that?
That's a very good question. We have part of the failing fast and transitioning to scale. We're looking to see how we might be able to prototype and just do some quick testing. So rather than with the projects that we are supporting, we certainly get we request M&E frameworks, more the broader approach, but where do they want to see what is the potential impact on users, how confident they are that it can scale quickly, what is the resource base, etc., how feasible it could be to be integrated within existing solutions. So we look at those broad matrix, and in the process of that, we want to see teams that would be able to test many assumptions of how they get there. So rather than having grand scheme agendas, we certainly want them to have the big picture in mind, but to build slowly and to test out different aspects of their models. So for example, if we're supporting a few teams that are looking at scraping social media for finding new insights on what are some key barriers for why teen girls are not accessing contraceptive methods, etc. So rather than just building out the model right from the beginning, we're asking them to say, well, put into place some small, to identify what their first assumptions are, and then doing some quick rapid testings with their intended users. So not major quasi-experimental designs, but just small assumptions to say, okay, we're heading in the right direction. And if needed, if one of our assumptions is not validated, we have to course correct or consider, well, this was a nice learning opportunity. We learned in this process, but it's not fit for the ultimate programs that we want to support. So that has been more of a challenge, trying to show that there's no shame in a project not performing as we would have necessarily wanted it to perform, showing that there's still a lot of learning to be had if projects don't succeed the way we expect them to succeed. So that's a bit about how we're trying to engage new mindsets and to have criteria for what we continue to support and what we think can move towards the other portfolio for scale.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. And it's such a difficult mindset change to encourage people to experiment and be okay, both as management as well as the teams working on it, with ideas failing. It's still not very comfortable, but it's so important, and I'm glad you're encouraging it. I have a question from Cecilia from the UNICEF Innovation Team, who is a self-declared lover of metrics. And she is wondering whether you have a report that kind of summarizes the output and outcome metrics that you mentioned, and if that is something that can be shared.
We are, so for the Learning for Impact, we do have some tools that we're testing out with a few of our countries. And when we refined it and we strengthened it a bit more, we'd be happy to share. We'd be happy to collaborate with UNICEF so that we could have shared metrics for our joint success too, because I'm sure there could be much room for collaboration and opportunities for joint success. So happy to share that and to work together on that.
Wonderful. And music to my ears, and I'm sure to Cecilia's as well.